Hi, how are y'all? Give me the old 1-2. Just let me know that you can hear me. Again, I'm just still paranoid. I'm almost there where I don't have to do this anymore. And let me know if you can hear me. And while we're doing that, I just barely made it. Hi, Dannon. I'm so glad you're here. And hi to Dr. Graham. Thanks for your service. This is going to be fun. I have fun with this all the time, but I've had so far um, a guy with a backbone, the very first guy I ever had on here, and he was talking about the child support and how it's private. Edward. And then I've had a hater on here a couple times with weak arguments, but this one's really special to me because this person I don't know him, and we've only talked briefly for about an hour last night. I was watching reading comments from one of my own videos. If any of y'all saw my video where I recorded the fellow named Robert Green from the Texas Attorney General's office, who was an agent of the state, who was coming after me, wanting to talk to me, so called me illegally. Somebody made an honest comment on there about their son, and I can only assume that this was Aaron's parent. I don't know which one. Having gone through the family courts of all places in Odessa, Texas. And Aaron, I'm just going to be real honest, real blunt. This guy's got more qualifications and letters after his name and things he's done at such a young age that it's like way over my head. So I'm going to bring him on and let him explain his background and how he came to be in, of all places, Odessa, Texas, because he's not from there. I believe he's from Wyoming, but he's got doctorates and master's degree. What really caught my attention was the fact that this man's own children were taken from him at gunpoint at UTPB, which is by the way, where I attended college like 15, 20 years ago with a 4.0. I never graduated, but I did get a 4.0. So I got a little bit of collagen in me, but and then on top of that, he went to school after that, after losing his ass in the family court, and he's getting his own degree to be his own lawyer. And so when I find people like this with spines that want to do something about helping their own children, I'm just like, honored's not even the word. So I'm going to bring in Aaron right now, and I got to do a test.
Well,
Aaron, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well. That's okay.
Right, very well.
Just so people know, he was traveling. He had broke down or something. He's not at his home place.
Yeah.
He went to go see mama or something. So how are you?
I'm well, actually. It was a great day to break down. I broke down about 5 o'clock this morning in nowhere, Indiana, and got towed to a lovely little place called Owensboro, Kentucky, right out in the Ohio River. And so they're going to light fireworks off right outside my room on the river from a barge in about an hour and a half. So,
well, I was going to warn you.
Happy accident.
I was going to warn you, the people around here in this little place I'm at in South Florida, they really like their firecrackers, and I'm just not a firecracker person. But so here pretty soon, you're probably going to hear a lot of pops and booms. So it's 4th of July, so that is what it is.
It's not downtown Baghdad. It's the 4th of July. It's okay.
Okay, speaking of downtown Baghdad, before we go, this is new to me, but I enjoy doing it. What is your background, like all of your backgrounds, like starting with you were in the Iraq-Afghanistan wars?
Not really. I was supporting it. I wasn't a linguist. I was not actually in like the war proper. But I was a cryptologic linguist. Yes, sir. I was in the Marine Corps for 3.5 years. I went to DLI in Monterey, California, learned how to speak Arabic. Then did Arabic cryptologic linguistics, translation, counterintelligence stuff stateside from then until I got out in late 2008. Got out into late 2008, went back to college, coached debate at Sheridan College, a little community college up in northern Wyoming. Was working on a degree. I was gonna do med school because I got hurt before I got out of the Marine Corps.
That's next, right?
I took the MCAT, right? I got into Wash U for medical school, And then I had to do this undergraduate level humanities class to finish my degree. And I read this poem called The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot, and it just blew my mind. I was like, oh, I need to study literature now. So I changed my major to literature and then finished that up an extra year at UW, and then get an MA in that, and then got into Emory University in Atlanta for my Ph.D. in literature. Went and did that, started teaching at Emory and at Kennesaw State University, a state college in North Georgia, and was teaching 5 classes at Kennesaw, 2 at Emory, and being daddy full-time too at that point in time. And then ended up going to UNCG in Greensboro, North Carolina for their creative writing MFA. Did that, and then got a job after I was half done with my MFA. I got a job at UTPB in Odessa in 2020.
Right when the pandemic started.
Well, exactly. That's actually what happened. Is so they shut down UNCG a year into my 2-year program, and everything was remote. So I got offered the job. I was like, well, I can go teach full time and do my MFA degree remote too at the same time, because it's all remote now. That's okay. So that's what I did. I went to Odessa and was doing my 2nd year of my MFA degree. At the same time, I was teaching a 5.5 load at UTPB in the English department. And that's what brought me to Odessa. In summer, we got there into July, beginning of July 2020. Lived on campus housing.
Lived on campus housing. You married a woman who had 2 children, if I remember correctly, from a previous marriage.
Yes, sir.
And then y'all wound up right down to business and made 2 of your own, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Aaron Jr. and then most recently Nadine Shea.
Okay, nice. So y'all's marriage obviously didn't last very long.
No, not very long. Actually, an interesting part of that is part of our courtship, I guess, was so when I met her, she had her youngest baby, Naomi, who was all of 3 weeks old when I met her. And she was trying to finish her degree at Georgia State University. And so, but she had this little baby, and I'm like, well, hey, I'll watch the kids. So I would go to Georgia State University and walk her around the halls of Georgia State University with a stroller while she was in class trying to finish her master's in education. And then when she needed to nurse, I'd go knock on the door, hey, here's the kid, whatever. So that was kind of our first bonding experience, was I was helping her take care of the baby. And so it was also and what breaks my heart about the step kids is that Naomi, I'm the only person, a male figure Naomi's ever known since she was 3 weeks old. And so part of the other thing too is I wasn't exactly going for a law degree at that point in time yet, but I knew enough about the law that I helped. So her ex-husband had been convicted of a bunch of family violence stuff. But was refusing to sign any divorce stuff. So she was still technically married at that point in time. And so I helped her file the stuff to do a divorce by publication in Fulton County, Georgia. And so that was kind of our first experience, was me helping with the kid and then getting her out of that entanglement, I suppose you would say. And the thing that will become relevant is because I was part of that court action and was part of the testimony for his felony domestic abuse trial, where he got convicted of 2 counts of felony domestic abuse. And it's not funny, but some of the stuff that will appear in the affidavit that you're going to see, right, is stuff that she testified to that he did to her that he was found guilty of. And it magically appears in the affidavit that was part of the writ of attachment. We got my son and daughter taken away from me.
From you?
2 years later in Odessa. Yes, sir.
His actions got mixed up into your stuff. Did I hear that correctly?
Well, when we see the affidavit, I'm not sure who the guy who wrote Game of Thrones is, but he couldn't have made up anything more fantastical than this affidavit is. It's a work of.
I did barely manage to get it. I can add that.
Yeah.
Are you ready for that, or do you have?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. Well, so the backstory, just to build up to that, right? So what happened in Odessa was on the 3rd of October, 2020. It was crazy. We were house shopping. We were out there looking to try to find a house in Odessa Midland areas. We were out looking at houses, and we'd done a whole day of looking at houses, and had all the kids with us, and everybody was doing a pretty good time. And something something clicked with her and she wasn't happy all of a sudden. So we take the kids to go get lunch, right? And she stays in the car the whole time. I'm like, okay, like whatever, like fine. So me and the kids have lunch, bring her back in the car. We go home. There's a lot of swearing and whatnot on the way home. We get back to the house and she like takes some of her anger out on the oldest or the youngest rather of her kids, the stepkids, Naomi. And I'm like, this is like she take a belt to him sometimes. I'm like, not okay. And so then we got in an altercation about that, and she left the house and was gone for 2 days. And so at that point in time, I had the kids and had some issues with her behavior. And I was like, hey, I'm not comfortable with you coming home and perpetuating any more of this. So I'm gonna take the kids. I'm gonna go Wyoming to my mom's house or Colorado to my grandma's house. My mom will meet me there, and we need to have a situation where we can have an amicable solution to talk this out without the kids being present to have any kind of anything come down on them, right? And I was like, here's my itinerary. Here's where I'll be staying. I'm sharing my location on my iPhone, right? So you know where everything's at. Everything's above board, right? Well, she takes that and calls Odessa Police Department and then puts Amber Alerts out in Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming. And so when we're on the road, they use my iPhone location, which is being shared with her, to pull me over in Dalhart.
Intentionally shared by you.
Yes. So there was no exactly because I was trying to be and so the police pull me over in Dalhart, Texas. They're like, yeah, well, we had your iPhone. So the police were real great, except the administrative thing, right? They're like, well, since these kids are your stepkids and these kids are your kids, my my chief doesn't really want to do any paperwork about having to have you take the stepkids. So we're basically like, we're going to be lazy, and so you have to give the stepkids back. Like, we're going to take the stepkids from you, but the other kids that are yours, have them. That's fine. I'm like, but the one kid who was getting beat was the stepkid. Like, this is not okay. Like, well, my chief doesn't want to deal with any paperwork. It's a Sunday, so we're gonna just like, you have to do that now. I'm like, okay. I mean, of course. I mean, I'm a Marine. I'm a Texan. I'm a Wyoming guy. I have a firearm in the car, right? So policeman walks up. I'm like, hey, sir, I have a concealed and carry permit, lawful owner, firearm in the car. He's like, cool. Can you give it to me? I'm like, no problem, sir. Boom, here you go. He has it. Everything's good, right? So like, and so that was another thing that it comes up in the affidavit is apparently some crazy allegation with firearms. But the policeman too would testify in court later on. He's like, nah, he was like totally respectful. Everything was fine. Like they let me have the kids that were mine biologically. They wouldn't let me have the stepkids because the chief didn't want to do paperwork about, didn't want to ruffle feathers and have to do paperwork about the surrounding circumstances that would entitle me to take the stepkids with me out of state. Apparently, this was in Muleshoe, Dalhart area, Texas.
Northern.
So, yes, sir. We're about to cross over into Colorado, New Mexico, Colorado. Yes, sir. So that happens, and then the stepkids get taken, and the rest of us are allowed to continue all the way to Denver, which we did.
Y'all went ahead and kept going.
Yeah, because I'm like at that point in time. I mean, because
I guess you just assumed that the cops took the kids back to her.
Well, the cops told me there was a CPS individual who came there and took Nora and Naomi, the kids. And I mean, same thing. They were nice about I loaded them up in the car and gave them put their car seats in the car and gave them all the stuffed animals and their backpacks we packed and toothbrush or whatever. So they had all their stuff too. So it was like, I mean, to be honest, the police, except for standing up for the actual situation because they didn't want to do bureaucratic paperwork, the police did a pretty respectful job at that point in time of treating us and the children well. Okay. So I'll say that for them. But yeah, so they were taken. Nora and Naomi were taken from my car to the Muleshoe depot where my ex met them and picked them up at some point in time later that day.
Okay, and at what point do you get back to UTPB where you were employed as a professor there?
Yes. So what happened was, I was I have bad luck with cars. So after we leave that whole ordeal, we're leaving. I get into Colorado. I get to Trinidad, Colorado, and the clutch goes out in the car. Mm-hmm. So I'm stranded in Trinidad, Colorado for a day. My mom comes down, picks me up. So basically, to get the clutch repaired, I'm in Colorado for 3 days ish, from the 3rd to the 5th of October, rather. Sorry. And then during that time, because of COVID and stuff, I have the ability to lecture online. So I'm doing all my classes still fully online with all my students. And with Mr. Baby hanging out with me and everything. So that gets done.
Mr. Baby.
I go back to Aaron Jr.
Aaron Jr.
We call him.
You call your son Mr. Baby.
yeah, I call my son Mr. Baby or Mr. TJ Chunkertons, which stands for the Junior Chunkertons. Because he was a chunky little fellow, and I always thought it looked like if I put a monocle on him, it looked like he should be able to run a railroad somewhere. So,
or like the dad from the Umbrella Academy, with the little
just about just about exactly. Okay. So we were up there for 4 days. The car gets fixed. We get back in the car and go down to Odessa the 7th of October. So leave on the 3rd, back in Odessa on the 7th. Apparently. During this, that's actually so get back to Odessa on the 7th. The campus apartment is like the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. It's empty. There's not a wire on the wall. Everything is gone.
Isn't that amazing how they can do that so quickly?
Well, apparently they went to our church and she told our church leaders that we had bought a house and they needed help moving all our stuff out into a U-Haul so we can move into our new house.
Alrighty.
And so they had the whole youth group taking everything gone.
Cannot say that I'm not surprised because
I was naively surprised.
That's okay. We've all been there.
Yeah. So I'm 7th of October, and so I'm like, what the heck's going on? Where are you? Where are the girls? I was still in the naive impression that this was something that was solvable to some degree, or it could be worked through, right? And so there's a lot of hostile text messages and defamatory stuff back and forth from her to me about whatever, and then she just drops off the face of the earth on October 16th, just done. That's no idea where she is, haven't seen her, whatever. So I filed for a protective order because some of the last things she said was that she was going to come get the child.
In Ector County, you filed for the protective.
In Ector County. Yes, I filed on October. So actually October 12th, I filed for the protective order and an ex parte protective order. The ex parte protective order was denied because I'm not a lawyer, and so they don't give ex parte hearings to non-bar member associates, which is also a problem with the law. That if I have a bar association, if I'm a member of the bar in Texas, I can get a one-on-one conference with the judge about what I want that day, like that. If as a private citizen, I am unable to get an ex parte conference with the judge about anything, I have to have the other counsel there. So there's a whole 2-tier system there that in order to get an ex parte, meaning hey, judge, this is an important emergency. I need to talk to you without anybody else about all the things the reasons why she's in danger, why she's going to take the kid, and you need to put this in place. That's just a night offhand because I'm not a member of the bar.
Huh. Okay. I did not know that. I didn't know how that worked. Okay.
Yeah. So the ex parte order gets denied offhand on the 13th or 14th, but the actual motion for the protective order, which is not the ex parte, which is the one that actually got you go to court, you present your case, the opposing counsel or the opposing member can come and present something to it, and there's a hearing on it, right? That never gets had. It's still unsigned on the docket on Billingsby's desk.
To this day.
For Ector County Family Court. To this day. Yes, sir.
And Judge Billingsley, the exact same judge that I'm always that did me so well. We're talking about the exact same judge, Sarah Kate Billingsley in the 446.
Catherine Billingsley, yes, sir. Yes. She never acted on that.
Sarah Kate Billingsley.
Yes.
Okay, so it is the one, Sarah Kate Billingsley in the 446.
The one who got in a car crash and was in a coma and came out of coma and is now appointed. Yes. That same
Okay.
Yeah. And she's a lovely, I mean, she seemed like a lovely person. I have nothing against her other than some this procedural thing is just fishy. Because Texas has a law, it's Rule 140. I think it's a Family Code 145 1C, which is if there is a protective order pending in any family or family court case, then no dissolution, meaning a divorce motion, nor any other motion related to the custody of children can be heard until that pending protective order motion is resolved.
Okay, and if I heard you
that's part of.
If I understand they went ahead and had the hearings anyways, even though that protective order was still.
I filed. It was pending. I filed that October 12th. They filed October 31st. The petition for divorce and the motion for a writ of a special motion for a writ of attachment. A writ of attachment is a special judicial order in Texas where it literally orders an officer of a court to attach the body of a child from one parent to another parent. It's a special order. It has to be high standard, supposed to be a high standard of evidence only in emergency situations. Is it ever granted? It's rarely granted. So at this point in time, I had retained counsel, and they said, okay, well, like there's a writ of attachment that was filed on the 30th of October, and the divorce thing, you haven't been served. Like a writ of attachment is an emergency thing. So if the judge hasn't granted it, they're not going to grant it. Just don't worry, because they can't. It's only on an emergency basis. So I'm like, okay, cool, we're good then. So I have my son completely under my custody to myself from October 3rd until December the 8th. My mom, who was my mother, I believe, commented on the video you mentioned earlier. My father passed in 2014, so it was my mother.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry to hear that.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No, it happened.
Yeah.
And so she came down in mid-November to help out with, because I was still teaching a five classes semester load and doing my MFA degree at UNCG at the same time. And so she came down to help out, watch Mr. Baby during the day, and just be a good mom. And so she did that. And so she was there actually. So what happened was then the motion was filed on October 30th for the writ of attachment and for the dissolution of the marriage. No service, nothing, all the whole month of November until December, on December the 8th at about 4:35 p.m. when I'm in my office. There's knock on the door, open up. There's 3 police officers with guns drawn, 2 sheriffs in the hallway. Where's your son? Where's your son? Where's your son? All that stuff. And then so my son was back at the apartment with my mom. I'm like, is it the apartment with my mom? The campus apartment, like 3 feet away from the freaking office I'm in. I'm like, okay, so they take me down under gunpoint to the house, make my mom bring out my son. And by the time that happens, there are 6 police cars, 12 police officers, 4 deputies, and 2 actual sheriffs, all with guns, some with AR-15 rifles out at student housing at UTPB to get my son under the writ of attachment they processed on December 8th, a month and 8 days after it was filed with the court.
Okay, and did
attach that writ of sorry.
And they did take your son.
Yeah. And another thing that's weird about that is for a writ of attachment under Texas civil procedure or family law procedure too, the person for whom the child is to be attached is to be present so the body of the child can be attached to the other parent, right? She was not there. I was forced to surrender my son to 2 random deputies in the back of a car who were driving him to places unknown to me.
Okay. Wow. Okay,
which was. Yeah.
How did I guess it goes without saying you were just completely fucking distraught at this point.
I was. I mean, I had no idea. I mean, I felt like my heart had been ripped out. Like, I mean, and even one of the deputies too was. He said something that they let me come down and kiss my son goodbye. How mighty nice of them to do that, right? After they put him in the car. And the freaking deputy was like, well, maybe if you're good, you can see him in 10 or 12 years. I'm like, do you want me to? I mean,
you want me to just take it off right now or later?
Right? But, yeah. It's like, no wonder you brought all the guns, huh?
Oh,
like, so, and not only that, so the thing is like, I mean, it's kind of a blessing. So my mom, who was there when they came and she was in the apartment. I was like, Mom, you got to give him the baby. Like, we got to do this. Like, we got to hand him over. I was trying to call. They wouldn't even let me call my lawyer. I'm like, let me call my lawyer before doing this. No. You're ready to take this kid, blah, blah, blah. And so I didn't even call my lawyer until 6 o'clock after this was all said and done. They wouldn't even let me call my lawyer before this was done. And this is all on body cam footage. This has all been discovered. It's all part of Discovery. We have this verified. The whole thing.
Were you formally arrested and charged for anything? For that?
Nope. In fact, there were my ex initiated 3 CPS investigations, which included CPS people coming to my office during class and knocking on the door to try to take my son, stripping my son. Oh my gosh. Okay. October the, 28th? This woman, Officer Perez, or CPS lady Perez, Odessa CPS, came to my office while I was in class with students live, and I had my son and demanded my son to be brought out, and like with the door open to my office, stripped my son down naked and took photos of his naked body with students staring at him walking out the door because of allegations of abuse. That this was the third time I actually filed this in like a 3-week period, right? Taking drug tests because of CP. I'm like, I'll cooperate, take drug test, negative, no signs of abuse, healthy kid, has his medical stuff, everything's fine. Another investigation, 3 weeks time, one of which they came to my office and stripped my son down naked. And my mom was there for that too. And she didn't handle it as well as I did. She got a bit uppity.
Well, and understandably so. So
no, as she should have. No, absolutely.
That's one thing I've always said, and I've had another thing I've had a problem with family court. It's not criminal court. You don't get arrested and then make bail and then you get innocent till proven guilty. There's
no presumption of innocence. No, absolutely. It's immediate action on whatever the judge feel or whatever authority feels is in the best interest of the child, which means a myriad of different things and different. It means whatever you want to mean in that day. And this is not to talk down of Judge Billingsby. I mean, so maybe it's time. So with the writ of attachment, right, was the affidavit. Maybe it's time to go to that. And because when we read this, we can probably understand why perhaps a judge would think it's
was this
a dangerous situation.
In this affidavit, is this was it? I assume this was brought up once y'all finally went to court, which, by the way, was on Zoom.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that was on. We finally had a hearing on January 21st, which was on Zoom because of COVID and happened in the wee hours of the morning. But this affidavit that is attached, it was the writ of attachment, which was the take my son, attach his body to my ex. Right. This was attached to that. Yeah. So this was the document that Billingsby acted on to allow the police to come take my son from me on December 8th. Okay. So this was in the initial filing.
I wished I knew how to make this a little bit bigger, but I do not.
It's okay. I think I can. Can you still see me right now?
Yeah, I can see you. Yeah, you're fine.
All right, cool. I pulled up. I just changed. I can read the affidavit from the.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. We see you just fine. If you're going to read from your screen, and I'm going to keep read the first page, and then just tell me when you're ready, and I'll click over to the second page.
Sounds good. So there's the whole I'm a sound mind and capable of making a sworn statement, that whole business, right? On October 4th, which is incorrect, October 3rd is the actual date, but whatever. Aaron Graham left our home with my 2 daughters from a previous marriage and our 1-year-old child who was still nursing, which was not true. He stopped nursing 3 months before that. Despite several calls and messages, he refused to bring the children home. In the city of Muleshoe, Texas, I went to the police precinct, and the officers were able to track his location in my phone and have him stopped in Dalhart, Texas, where my 2 oldest children were taken from him, and he was allowed to continue with our youngest son. Shortly after, he stopped in Pueblo, Colorado for 20 hours. With his location still on, I was able to see him travel back and forth between the Three Sisters Tavern and a Circle K across the street. Due to his history of drug abuse, this was worrisome, and I did not know how our child was being taken care of or where his father was taking him. They later went to Wyoming, and Aaron Sr. stopped sharing his location. He told me that if I drove through his mother's house in Wyoming, I would be able to see our son. So I drove all the way to Laramie, Wyoming, to find it had been a trick. He had already left Wyoming and gone back to Texas, and thought me driving across the country to find my son was laughable. My son was nowhere to be found, and no information would be provided to me as to when and where I could see him. I have not seen my son since October 4th. I am worried about this amount of time apart from my small child and how it will affect our relationship as an attachment and my ability to nurse it all. I'm worried about my husband's history of drug abuse has resurfaced. He was previously addicted to methamphetamine and got help from the Veterans Administration Hospital in 2013. He has since been abusing his Adderall prescription and has sent $8,500 to a drug dealer in Atlanta. When asked what these cash transactions were for, he claimed they were for more Adderall. He takes medications for seizures. His last seizure was in December 2019 and was caused by emotional stress. He did not take the medication with him and drinks excessively daily, which also makes me worry about the child's well-being. Throughout our marriage, my husband has manipulated and controlled me through psychological threats. On a few occasions, he's expressed that if we can't be together in this life, then we will be in the next, and that he wouldn't be sad if we, we're on the second page now, I'm sorry. Yeah. And that he wouldn't be sad if we all died, because at least we would be together. With this context, he often brings out the gun when he doesn't like how an argument has gone. When asked why he has the gun or what he plans to do with it, he says that he is unsure or doesn't know, quote, yet. After he came back to Texas, he claimed he would, quote, reunite our family and messaged me saying that we would all be together again. As a poet, his words and tone are deliberate, and I do not consider these threats of violence to be empty. Aaron Graham Sr. has had an intimate relationship with violence. He described to me once shooting a young girl while he was deployed. He claims the way her blood splattered was, quote, beautiful. He seems to have a bloodlust. He prefers having intercourse during my time of the month because he enjoys getting blood everywhere. He has also published a book called, quote, Blood Stripes, close quote, which is not only profane, but describes in the product description as haunting and claims that the violence is portrayed as addictive and sensual. There has been a history of recklessness when it comes to Aaron watching the children. In 2016, which is before we were married, he was arrested for child endangerment in Larry, Wyoming after his daughter ingested medicine contaminated with methamphetamines. He will feed the children anything that is convenient and constantly puts his own wants and needs before his. Him waking up the two young children and a nursing baby to take them out of the state without packing more than some stuffed animals is proof of this. When I picked up my two eldest from the police station, they were unwashed. Their skin was dried out and their hair was a mess. He hadn't packed anything to indicate he planned on taking care of them at all, and he still has not considered how the baby must feel being separated from his mother. Signed October 4th, or signed rather, October 30th, Alana Graham.
Holy moly, that's a lot of accusations. She's basically saying you were a murderer?
Yeah, and enjoyed it. Yeah, she literally accused me of war crimes in Iraq.
And this was what was read, and
this was the writ of attachment. It was the writ of attachment and this. This authorized.
Okay, so by reading this, the judge issued this with that writ of attachment, which initiated all those cops coming to take your son at gunpoint.
Yes. However, it did so 38 days after she filed this.
See, now that's the part
that's bizarre.
This sat somewhere.
This was filed with Billingsby's office and presented to her again because her lawyer can do ex parte hearings, right? Was presented ex parte, meaning without me or my counsel being alerted to it or being present to defend ourselves, was presented to Judge Billingsby in her court on the 30th of October, 2020. It was filed and signed on the 31st of October, but it wasn't acted on until the 8th of December of the same year. So this sat, having been read and presented in court for 39 days, because there's 31 days in October.
So again, assuming like if I just read this and took it as the God's honest truth, and you really were this psycho crazy, no one in the right, you're asking why would anybody in the right mind wait 30 something days to 5 weeks to actually act on it? Like, wouldn't that be done immediately?
Yeah, it should have been. Writs of attachment are required to be, because they are emergency orders under the court's consideration. They must be acted on only in imminent danger to the child, meaning like that if you don't do this right now, the child will die probably.
Okay.
That's the only judicial authorization for them. And it was executed 39 days later on December the 8th after it was filed October 30th and presented to the court. Okay.
So after this happens,
and this is also, sorry, not to interrupt, but also this is after the protective order against her was filed on October 12th. So Billingsby has the October 12th protective order request on her desk when this comes across, 18 days later. And then she holds this for another 39 days and then acts on it 39 days after that with the protective order still on the desk.
Okay. And also keep in mind, or I'm not talking to you, to them, this was all during COVID. This was during everything was shut down. Everything was done on Zoom. Everything got way backed up. That was the excuse that I was given by my own attorney, who happens to be his opposition's attorney, Gaven Norris, that we're backed up. COVID shut down. It shut us all down. We can't help it. And I'm like, well, it's been at the time, it's been 2-3 years. There's nothing I can do about it anyways. So when do you all finally get a hearing? Because this is the part that just blew my mind as well. You go X amount of weeks without seeing your son, knowing anything about him. You finally get a hearing. You're on the docket. You've got
January 21st.
January.
Yeah, have a January 21st.
6 weeks after your son's taken at gunpoint.
Yep.
And you wound up getting an attorney out of Dallas. Is that correct?
Yeah. After I filed for the protective order, I hired Tiffany Yates McCorder from Cordell & Cordell in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
Because I had Cordell is like the men's defense law firm. We help, and she was like the top litigator for family law in Texas, and like 3 years running. So like, I don't care. Like, I'm breaking the bank and whatever. And my mom helped
anything, everything to get the best,
everything through the kitchen sink at it. Absolutely. Well, that's the thing about Odessa, though, is like, you probably know this. They don't really like them as some outsiders.
Oh no.
So
I had a lawyer years and years and years ago who said people like bringing in outside attorneys, and he said that's fine because I thoroughly enjoy whipping their asses. He was a homegrown guy.
Yeah, I mean that was my mistake. I thought that, I had this weird idea that like the court of law was about just merit and truth and justice and things like that, right? But it's not. It's about who you know and about who you know in the local setting. So she's a great attorney and a hard worker, and just had unspeakably unperceived. So we'll just go like she was just a gas. She'd never seen a hearing like what fell out. So
you told me the docket call was started at 8, and there's a whole bunch of people because they're trying to get as many of these done as possible. What time did your case finally get called up for the Zoom meeting, the Zoom hearing on Zoom?
1:35 a.m. Central Time.
The following morning.
Yes. So it was actually heard the 22nd.
17 hours later.
Yep, at $6.50 an hour for every one of those hours for my bills for my lawyer.
And she had to bill you for the whole thing because she was on your time.
She was standing on there. Yep.
And that's what
I wasn't quite aware of how that worked then, and I know now. So that was a $12,000 day for me on the outside. Right.
And tell me how did that go as far as their side given their amount of allotted time versus your side?
Yeah. So the way that it works in family court, and you probably know this in Odessa, is every side's allotted 40 minutes, right? Each side gets 40 minutes to present their time. Their timer's running, right?
Well, and to be fair, when I was there in 2017, it was like normal court, and we wound up, I don't know, we were in the court like 6 or 7 hours.
Sure. So that's for a final order trial hearing. For a temporary order hearing, which was this. As far as I know, temporary order hearings are restricted to 40 minutes aside by Texas.
Okay, I'll just have to take your word for it. I don't know.
No, but the actual trial that can go days. That can be as much time as you need.
Gotcha.
That's what the thing that's so difficult about temporary order hearing is you have a very confined amount of time to try to get everything out there, and that's all you get. And the judge then decides who gets custody for that moment until the final order is issued, however many years that takes to suss that out. So temporary order is key.
Yeah, now that you mention it, my opposition's lawyer, it was the temporary hearing. And I do remember Judge Billingsley, Brad Miller was my opposition's lawyer. Right. And he was bringing up my videos and playing. He set up shop and set up projectors and playing clips of my videos. And, I just distinctly remember Judge Billingsley getting frustrated, saying, "You are all talking about money. This is just a temporary hearing to find out where the kids are going to leave, or we're going to live in the meantime." And I just remember it just went on. We got a lot longer than 40 minutes, but
yeah, So the way is there's 40 minutes of designated time for the counsel to examine witnesses and make their statements. If there's other procedural stuff that goes on, or if Billingsley decides to lambast somebody, that time's not counted. So it's just like basically 40 minutes for each lawyer doing witness questioning, cross-examination, etc. Right? Is
that the way it went?
No, it's not the way it went.
Okay, tell me how did it go?
Well, I had witnesses waiting. I had my department chair. I had his wife. I had the church leaders who had been duped to move the stuff out of the house. I had my mom. I had my sister. I had my mom's My mom's husband, my stepfather, Fred, were all there. It was 8 a.m. waiting to testify, right? And then she had her whole family. And so what happened was she went first, and they did 9 witnesses. Took like an hour and 20 minutes. When my lawyer's like, what's going on? Like, my lawyer's like, what? And she's on Zoom too in Dallas, right? And they're all, and so the other thing that 9 witnesses, including my previous ex-wife, who they somehow got a hold of and were trying to wrangle into and Billingsby was really great with that. She's like, who are you? She's like, well, I'm his ex-wife. I mean, there's a previous child named Alexi from that marriage, which we have a 50-50 custody mutual agreement split with, right? That was settled in court in Georgia in 2012. I mean, 2019. And she's like, why are you here? She's like, well, she's like, do you think he's a good father? She's like, well, yeah, he kind of is. She's like, get out of my courtroom, go away, strike the testimony. What the hell is this woman doing here? And like, I was like, it was like, what the hell was she? Well, what she was doing there was that they gave her the affidavit. So she filed new motion to get more custody of my daughter because they filed that same affidavit in Georgia court. Another story for another day.
Okay.
But that's, yeah. So Billingsby was very good. Like, go away, strike all that testimony. This is why is she here? But even with that, they did a whole hour and 20 minutes of testimony. And then Tiffany finally like, okay, Tiffany, your time. And Judge Billingsby was like, you have 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And Tiffany's like, Your Honor, we haven't called any witnesses yet. They've been going for, it's like, no, the timer. She's like, the timer. I mean, it's like 2:35 in the morning by this point in time. I mean, everybody's obviously exhausted. I'm exhausted. I'm in my office at UTPB, right? I'm like the only person in the building trying to do it. I mean, if it's 2:30 in the morning, and Billy's like, no, you have 8 minutes and 40 seconds. She's like, Your Honor. And so Billingsby threatens to hold McCorder in contempt for arguing about the time. And so all we get to do is we get to go. So we don't call any witnesses. My attorney just puts me on the stand and tries to get as much out of me about what actually happened in the 8 minutes and 46 seconds we had left. The clock runs out. Tiffany's like, hey, we haven't gotten our time. Like they had extra time. We didn't. Billings was like, nope, court's closed. Done deal. Temporary orders coming out tomorrow. Bye. And like 3:30 something in the morning, it ended on that note.
And I've never heard of being in court.
I got to call no witnesses. Yeah. It was like, I don't know if you've ever read any Kafka, Franz Kafka's The Trial.
No, I haven't, but I'm sure you have. But
all right, I'm sorry. No, I have.
You'd be way over my head on some things.
They come to this guy's apartment. They're like, confess. You're like, confess to what? He's like, you did it. So this guy has been indicted and put on trial for something he has no idea. Like the whole book, he never knows what he's even accused of doing. And so I felt like that. It was like dystopian. I'm like, I didn't even get to call any witness. And all my witnesses are like, after the court ends, they're like, calling, why didn't we get testified? What's going on? Like, what happened? I'm like, well, her whole family. She has 10 people in her family. Her whole family and my ex-wife got to testify. I didn't get a single witness.
That is just so
I got 8
bizarre.
minutes.
I mean, it's so blatantly unfair that if an hour and 20 minutes versus 8 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah, 8 minutes, 46 seconds. Yeah. And
okay. Well,
that's how it happened. And this is I mean, we put out FOIA requests to try to get the recording from Ector because it was published on Facebook too. And I mean, I think we can find the Facebook like chat transcripts from the thing. And you have people who are just like either like, Monday morning quarterback lawyers or just people watching in the community who are like, what the hell? This isn't how it goes. He got no time. Like, so there's this whole like chat thread on the Facebook because they also publish these things on Facebook, which is really weird. Which was also a problem because then my employer, UTPB, had people who were watching it and saw all these allegations, saw this affidavit, and saw me not to say anything in response. And so immediately after this trial, I got put on paid leave and investigated for all the allegations she made in a family court case in the affidavit.
Okay, you got put on paid leave at the time.
Yeah, so it was paid leave, yes. So, I mean, I was paid for the duration of the year because they kept the investigation open, but I couldn't. I lost all my students. I lost all my classes, and then it wasn't until May 30th of 2021. They're like, well, we can't find any reason to dismiss you. Like, you haven't actually, none of the things were actually validated in our investigation. However, we're just going to not renew your contract instead.
So you basically lost your job. I'm so sorry about that. It is, I don't know if y'all hear it, but it is really, really loud.
I hear it. Yeah, it's going off. It's good. It's good.
So you lost your job over that.
Yes.
Easy. You just
I was investigating. I can put the documents up too from my official notice of investigation from the university and from the University of Texas. Like, they have like lawyers who like do like FBI type stuff and they came to the campus and investigated me, interviewed me 3 times, interviewed my department chair about the allegation about the guns, about the drugs, about everything. And so yeah, I was put on the hot seat with that too. And it was all based on, and I have the documents that say all the allegations in that affidavit. That affidavit was they took that as truth from a family court filing and used it to investigate me at the university, to put me on paid leave, and then once the investigation came back negative on all counts, they couldn't fire me or I'd have a legal case against them for improper firing. So they just non-renewed my contract, which is de facto the same thing, but gives me no legal recourse to them.
So they're legally they're in the clear. UTP, there's not really.
I mean, there are some retaliation actions I could pursue possibly, but like it's.
And we can always just talk about it and give them a little bit of little airtime on here. Just
don't go to that school. Don't work at that school. Don't work at that school. They'll throw you under the bus for anything, man.
Okay, from the time the January 21st temporary hearing, did you see your kids? Have you seen them since? Other than maybe
not in person.
You've not seen your own children since January of 2021, last year, year and a half.
No, since December 8th of. Sorry. Yeah, since January. Yeah, of 2021. Not seen them in person.
What was
despite a court order that came out of that hearing, right on the January 21st, Billingsby entered an order that within 10 days we were required to set up immediate visitation with Child's First of Texas in Midland and Odessa. And within 15 days was to be my first visitation time in person for 3 hours every other Saturday from thenceforward. That's part of the court. And this is, if you want to bring the other document up, that's what that.
I tried, and for some reason I couldn't get it up. But
I can read from it though.
Yeah, if you want to read from it now, what is this that you're reading from again?
Yeah. So this is out of that hearing, right? On the 21st of January came the temporary order, right? It was a temporary order hearing. So this is how all of the how until the final order or agreement is entered into in the court, this is how the custody of the children in any visitation will be conducted, right?
And Judge Billingsley wrote this.
This is no, actually, Tiffany McCorder wrote this. So the way it works actually is the judge orders this out loud, verbally orders this in the court, right?
Gotcha.
It's
right.
Then the job of the attorney on the winning side, and Alana, my ex, won the case, right? It's her attorney's job to write the order up and submit it to her in written form for signing. The order is still valid before it's written and signed. However, it's the opposing attorney's job the winning attorney's job to write it up and submit it to Billingsby for signing.
Gotcha.
Well,
gotcha.
So the content here is reflective of what Billingsby ordered on the 21st of January. Gaven Norris never wrote the order and refused to write the order. My lawyer, Tiffany Yates McCorder, at the end of July of 2021, 5.5 months after the order was issued, had to write the order because Gaven Norris refused to do it.
And if without a signed order, then the safe house place or whatever they're called, they had no legal binding to say, okay, bring in child, bring in father. It's not necessarily their fault without a signed order, correct?
Well, it's not their fault. It's not. I went and did my intake interview. She never went and did hers. And we couldn't, without the order that was written, we couldn't try to force them in court to do it because you can't have a motion to enforce an order that's not been written. And you had a lawyer, Gaven Norris, who never wrote the order as he was required to by the court on January 21st or January 22nd. The order would have been issued, right, to be written. And so let me read from the order. So this is why things are relevant here, right? It says, right. So this was written on, this order was issued on January 21st, 2021. It is ordered that within 10 days of this conference in this case, the parties are ordered to complete the intake procedures and any other applications required by the Kids First Center located at 3701 Andrews Highway, Midland, Texas, for Aaron Dylan Graham Sr., myself, to begin supervised visit with the child. It is ordered that supervised visitations should be scheduled for 3 hours on the first, third, and fifth weekend of every month, with Aaron Dylan Graham Sr. being responsible for all costs associated with the visitation. It is ordered that Aaron Dylan Graham Sr. shall schedule each visit with the center directly and provide notice to Alana Janae Graham of the date and time of the scheduled visit at least 7 days prior to the scheduled visitation. It is ordered that Alana Janae Graham should be responsible for arranging the transportation to the child to and from each scheduled visit, and each party shall follow all requirements of the center regarding the exchange of the children for visitation. Yeah, so that's pretty straightforward. So within 10 days of January 21st, 2021, that was to be done. I did mine within 2 days. She never did hers and never did it. And so we kept pushing, hey, when is this going to begin? How is this going to happen? Like what? And so,
I'd like to see my own damn kids. When's this going to happen? When's this
it's a court order. It's fine. I'll pay the money. I'll pay. And that's why I started contacting the director of the center. I have emails we can share about she's like, well, I can't do anything because the opposing counsel hasn't sent the order in. The opposing counsel, she hasn't come in an intake. I can't even schedule a time until she does her intake. I'm like, well, the court ordered to do her intake within 10 days. It's not been done. Well, she hasn't done it, so we can't do anything about that. And so it was just, she never did the intake. They never did the order until my lawyer, finally, Tiffany, this was January, in July 27th, she finally, and this is after I was already 17,000 in the hole plus another 10 for the hearing. So I put 17,000 out of pocket. I think I still owe 10.5 to them. So Tiffany was great. She already was like, well, I can't represent you anymore. But she came back on and wrote the order for me because Gaven was never going to do it. So she wrote this order for me to submit to Billingsby in the July pro bono because she was so upset that I hadn't gotten to see my children. And after that, Norris still didn't do anything about it. And then Alana moved out of state. She actually moved out of state in May. And there was lies about she didn't. There's documents about that too we can submit later. But so she left. After this order was issued, she left. And Norris didn't file anything because he realized that she'd be on the hook to have to present the child at this address as given in the order in Odessa.
In Odessa.
Do that because she was in Seattle.
Seattle, Washington.
Yes, sir.
Unbelievable.
And so, we're probably getting close to the end of the time, I guess. Or I don't know how long.
No, we can go. We can. I don't have any set time. I can go for 10 hours if you want to. No, you go right ahead.
Well, I can go for 12 hours, man.
Okay, this is interesting. Okay, just proceed, sir. Tell your story.
So after that, then right. So, I guess So we filed the thing, right? And the order went in, and then okay, so all right, so Gaven Norris the whole time is like, well, I'm trying to I'm gonna write the order, I'm gonna put the order in, I'm gonna put the order in from January until July, right? He's like, oh, it's fine. Yeah, you can see this kid's great. We just need to put it in. He's never put it in, just never did it. So I can never actually get freaking 12 miles up the road to see my children. So Tiffany puts the order in and is very nice. Like, hey, Gaven, I'm not going to represent him anymore after this because he can't pay because I'm in the hole. And then I'm out of a job by this point. By July, I'm out of a job, and so I have no income now. And I'm trying. So my last paycheck was in May when they gave me my no renewal order. And so I'm like, well, okay, Tiffany, thank you so much for doing this. She puts the temporary order in. And the next day, like within 8 hours, Gaven files a modification order which is a whole new temporary order, written up entirely, that changes, that tries to, and it's an ex parte hearing on it with a restraining order on me based upon the same affidavit to prevent me from seeing the children.
A restraining order? And by the way, I'm muting myself to keep some of these out. He put another restraining order after the kids already moved out of state?
So the whole point of the kid, so the kid moved out of state, but they were maintaining the fact that he was still in state, because it would be against the temporary order. Another part of it is that there's a geographic restriction on the temporary order that says that she has to maintain residence for the child in either Ector or an adjacent county. That was not the case. So in subsequent filings for sanctions and unethical conduct I did against Mr. Norris, as well as discovery requests that were ignored and Rule 11 sanctions based upon that, it came out that she actually moved in March of that year to Seattle. And so she had been not only been misleading the court, and he'd been misleading the court, and he had signed documents and filings with his signature, which is a violation of Federal Rule 11 ethical conduct, Rule 183 in Texas civil procedure for unethical conduct by a lawyer, knowing that and falsely representing to the court. So the whole point of the temporary restraining order was like, well, basically, we're going to find a reason for you not to be able to see your kids, so you can't make her come back from Seattle to put the kids in the thing in the Child First in Texas to actually see your kids. So even though Tiffany finally filed the order in July, it was still never that provision for see my kids at Children's First in Texas never happened. I never got to see them once, in spite of paying the money, in spite of doing the intake, in spite of contacting the director, in spite of everything. I never saw my children once. I've yet to see them face to face or in any physical sense since January of 2021.
And at this point, at what point did you decide to go ahead and say, screw it, I've already got a doctorate and a bunch of other degrees. I'll just go to law school and learn to represent myself. Talk about that.
Well, it was kind of a force majeure kind of thing. So what happened was I'm in Texas now. It's July. I don't have a job. I'm out of money. My old department chair was nice enough to let me stay in his guest bedroom until I try to figure stuff out. But it's July now. I've just been issued the non-renewal order the non-renewal of my contract. So I'm like, well, now I'm broke and potentially homeless and have no income and no nothing. I'm like, well, I'm back in 2017. I took the LSAT and I got a 174 score. I'll apply to law schools and see if somebody wants to give me financial aid. So I just started applying. I used my last bit of my VA disability money to pay application fees to law schools, applied to a slew of law schools, got waitlisted for 3 of them, got into one of them with full financial aid and a living stipend. I'm like, that one. And so it was as much to just keep myself afloat and put a roof over my head as it was to go to law school. But I mean, I wanted to go to law school that book. So I'm like, I can see the bull crap. I'm like, this is not justice. Like you're putting in orders and you're violating them yourself. And like, you can't be held accountable. And because I don't have a freaking bar license, I can't file in or even talk to the judge. I can't request a hearing. I can file motions. I get no hearing for 4 months. But if you want to talk to the judge, you can get an ex parte restraining order the next day because you're buddy with them that I don't even get to hear about or know about because I don't get to represent myself because it's ex parte. Like what? So I was like, no, I need to join the club.
That is absolutely amazing to me. You, sir, have got way bigger balls than me. Not only did you go pro se, but you just said, "Oh, screw it, I'll just go to law school." Like, I'll just go to law school real quick, just get a law degree. I'm not geared that way. I enjoyed school. I made relatively good grades in school. I actually had a 4.0. Those 12 hours I had to take, but I just had way too many kids too young, and I'm so sorry. This is so loud. I'm having to get a question in.
But I hear that little pop. It sounds like somebody's making popcorn. You're all right.
Okay. So how far along are you into law school?
A year and a half through. And
about how much longer do you expect before you actually get your license?
So that depends. So, I mean, basically the whole third year. So the law schools are generally a 3-year process. The third year is bar prep, basically to teach you how to teach the test of taking the bar exam. Only the first 2 years are substantive classes you actually need to take to get your JD degree. So, I mean, I'm hoping to be done with it after the next year. So I'm hoping to do 2 and done and just take the bar exam. There are some states where you can just take the bar. I mean, it's not as hard as it's not as hard as people say it is. Like, I mean, I could probably take. I mean, I'm not. I imagine there are a lot of people out there, myself maybe included, who could take the bar exam and pass it without doing a whole year of stupid online bar prep test questions. It's all just like PSAT. It's like, it's really not. The third year of law school is to teach the test. It's like when you go to take the SAT, you want to get in a Yale, you want the perfect score, you get the big old book and you sit there and do tests. If you actually know this, if you actually paid attention in class and took good notes and know the law, you don't need to do that. You can just take the bar and pass it. I know people have done that. It can be done.
Do you once you get your license, do you plan on going into family law? And
absolutely.
This is what you want to do this, like for other
family
not just
law
fathers, and good mothers too that get screwed over.
Yeah, it's for kids. Yeah, for kids. Yeah, family. Wow. So that's the thing. I go into law school like, what do you want to specialize in? I'm like family law and litigation, like not just like writing doc. Like I want to litigate in court for parents and for justice and for like there's no way that somebody should be. And I know that it's not just me. Like people have. I'm sure there's probably people watching right now whose exes, either be they husbands or wives or boyfriends or girlfriends, have had affidavits maybe more crazy than that written about them, and they come to court and face that stuff, and all of a sudden their lives are turned upside down, they're fired from jobs, and they have their kids taken away for something that looks like it's a bad fan fiction piece. Like, it's not even like believable, right? But so like, yeah, babies need parents. Babies need parents who care about them, who don't use them as leverage tools, and actually want to participate in their lives. And they need other parents who don't want to help, don't want to allow the other parent to participate, to be made to allow them to co-parent, because parents need to be involved in kids' lives. Children need as many parents as will be responsible for them and care about them. In fact, there are men and women out there who have no ability to care for their kids because their spouse is on a vendetta or has a whatever for them. That's not how the system is supposed to work. It's supposed to be best interest of the child, which means the child, not the spouse with a grievance.
Yeah, I joke constantly about that phrase, best interest of the child. It's always, to me, it's follow the money. Well, let me ask you this. Speaking of money, you said you've gotten student loans. Do you do fundraisers? Has anybody ever done a fundraiser for you? Do you have one going at the moment?
I had one. I started one called Bring Mr. Baby Back. In like, and there's this great little. It's on. So I think you can still find it if you. I mean, it's closed down now. I think people were great. I think I raised like $500, which is great. It helped pay down my.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you don't have one at the moment, this goes live afterwards, and I'll just send it to me, and it will be I'll put it in the description if anybody would like to help.
Cool. Yeah. If it's not live right now, I'll restart it. I think it kind of fizzled out, but like there's a great video of me and Mr. Baby. It's just when we were at the
Mr. Baby. Sorry. That just cracks me. Well, it's okay. I'll call him. I just got a new cat. And I just call her Cat or Mama Cat. But you call your baby Mr. Baby.
Because all the other babies were girls, so it's Mr. Baby. But no, we were sitting there. We're at this in the affidavit, right? About the affidavit too. Just like so my phone location was on, right? She's like, I watched him walk back and forth from the Three Sisters Tavern to the Circle K or whatever. I'm like, yeah, because the car broke down at the Circle K, and there's a Days Inn across the highway. So I'm literally have Mr. Baby in my arm, carrying diapers and pack and plays across the bridge to the Days Inn room we're staying in, right? And then back to the Circle K and back there. And then we Mr. Baby and I went to the Three Sisters Tavern, which is like a Denny's. And so we walk in the Three Sisters Tavern, and there's like football games on, and like Mr. Baby gets himself some fried Brussels sprouts, and I had a Sam Adams, and I had a hamburger, and Mr. Baby and I are on videotape. We're posting it live to YouTube. Well, touchdown! It's like touchdown! It was like, it's like, we don't know what's going on with my son. I'm like, it's broadcast live on YouTube. What's going on with your son? We're watching football and saying touchdown, and all the little 4-H club that's in there is giving him high fives. Like, that's just so absurd about the whole thing.
Well, I must say I am glad you've got a sense of humor about it. I've learned I had to laugh at myself. Good God Almighty, that is so loud on my end.
I think they're throwing them at your house. I think those little poppers, they're throwing them at you.
I think some of them actually are landing on my roof and then popping. It's like my little tiny.
It sounds like it actually. It really does.
It's like a bass drum that I'm in.
Or a snare. It's like a snare. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, since we are just over an hour in, I can come on. I'm more than happy to have you back anytime. Since it is so loud on my end and it's probably not going to stop anytime soon, would you mind coming back sometime this week or next week or whenever you're available?
Yeah.
If you've got some other
I'm free this week. Actually, so the one thing, this is just not so I was gonna have to bounce out in like 20 minutes anyway, because I get my 10 minutes video time with Mr. Baby in like at 8:30 Central Time, so 9:30 our time. So I was gonna have to leave in a second anyways to be able to do that 10 minutes time with him. He's always eating, or he's always off. You know, they be shysty with how they actually do the 10 minutes. It's not real 10 minutes, but yeah. But I'm gonna take that though. So yeah, so I'll come back tomorrow, the next day, whenever, and we'll keep going with this. I really appreciate it, man. Let's do this.
God dang, Aaron is really good talking to you. It's good to meet. I love meeting parents with spines. I'm like rooting for you, man. I want you to succeed at this. So
I'm going to, and thank you for the support, and thank you for what you've done too. And like, I mean, I was out there like, oh, Norris is like a good guy. Norris is so. I'm like, no, and so I'm glad to have. We'll talk more about that in the next episode. But like, to see the corruption for what it is to some degree and actually start calling it out is important to actually find justice.
Yep. All right. Sounds good.
Hey, God bless you, sir. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July. Take care. Wow. And now suddenly they quit. That is just mind-boggling. He again, I told y'all his intelligence is like way over me. And when he talks really fast about all these legal procedures and legal, it just goes over my head sometimes. So I am looking forward to going back and watching this interview again. And I'm most definitely interested in having him back on here. To have your own kids taken at gunpoint, to go broke in the family court, to get so motivated to want to be a dad, you just say, oh, hell's bells. I already got a doctorate and a bunch of other degrees. Might as well get a lawyer degree too. That is just absolutely amazing to me. So anyways, well, I'm going to, they're gearing up some more. I'm going to have to turn this off, but enjoy it, everybody. Oh my goodness, Miss Allison Neighbors. I left you a voicemail, by the way. You hadn't called me back. Sarah Jane, it's good to see you as well. Dwayne, Gavin hasn't closed the loop on Caleb's case. Something off is going on there. Yeah, I don't know what it is. And I know this is really awkward, especially if my own lawyer, because he is my own lawyer, ever saw this, which I assume he's already seen the other ones. I assume you've seen this one, and it must be really awkward, but I don't know what to tell him. I mean, about 2 weeks from now, it's going to be 5 years since my stuff is still not updated. Blaine is now 19 years old, and it's not updated. And I'm sorry that the pandemic happened. I'm sorry everybody got behind, but you know, these are kids' lives. And their parents' lives. We have to deal with this crap. We have to go on with our lives. I literally wake up every single day trying to put a smile on my face, trying to keep going, but it's a constant reminder every morning. It's still not updated. You can't get a vehicle in your name. Well, I can in Florida now, thank God, but I can't put real estate. There's no way in hell I'd ever put real estate in my name, because I know what happened. It'll just get a lien put on it and I'd lose it. So anyways, I'm going to turn off here, but wow, that was just amazing to me. And, everybody that's tuning in, Dan, you're here just about every night. And I really, really, there's Edward. Thanks. There's another part of family law that needs attention to. Yeah, a bunch of it. And the only thing I know to do is use my little tiny platform with my little voice and do what I can to draw attention, to put the pressure in just the right places and push in just the right amount to get these people that run roughshod over all of us to do what they need to do, get off their ass and do what they need to do. If it really is into the best interest of the Cheerins, prove it. Talk to y'all tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Don't hit your Cheerins. Bye.